We are live for the next webinar in our Parenting Children with Special Needs series, thinking about how you can save yourself to help save your children better, because you can't really separate one from the other. So we do have Todd Kellog back with us today for a part 2 of the series that he started a few weeks back regarding positive parenting strategies and things that you can do at home with your children who maybe have a higher level of cognitive need that needs some more specialized attention or some different approaches. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Todd and let him take it away.
All right, thank you very much, Aubrey, for having me back. And I really do appreciate the opportunity to reach out and connect with the parents. As I mentioned the last time, I got into this field because I have a passion to work with parents. Of course, I work with children with special needs, but the parents are the ones that I feel a lot of times don't have all the resources that they could use. So that's why I do what I do. And I'm a behavioralist and a family therapist, and I work with a number of children with special needs and their families, and consult with the schools. So last time I was doing this, I showed a model that we put together, and I'm going to show this basically the same model, but really geared towards the families and where the child might have some greater cognitive needs as far as their learning when it comes to any type of academics or ADLs or rec and leisure. And then I also, because now we're already in June, we have 3 months of basically, I'm having keep track, but I guess it's roughly 3 months, of information on how things have been going, and we've learned from that, we've adapted. And if I have some time, I'll share some examples of 3 children, one girl and 2 boys, and their families, and just a little brief update as to how they're doing using this model or something very, very similar to this. So I have everything in writing, and I know Aubrey can make it available to you. So I put together a plan based on some specific strategies I put together for families. I pulled it all and put it more in a generic model, a plan, which I'll share with you right now. And I'll just refer to it real quick so you know what it looks like. So I'm going to share my screen, and this is let me bring this over here. This is the Word document that I'm going to share. And basically, this is just one page. And on this one page, it really kind of just highlights some of the main elements in putting together a structure at home to help your son or daughter basically operate with a huge amount of time now. It used to be just at morning and after school and evening. Now it's all day long. And so the parents that I was working with needed help in structuring their day. And some of this was written and developed before the schools even attempted to do remote services. And then, of course, when they started to do remote services, others trickled these services. Other models were quicker. But this was meant to kind of help fill that void and help parents organize their thoughts and their environment and their own behaviors, and helping their children get the most out of the day. So it's really called helping parents set up an at-home learning environment. So when you kind of look at this document, and it really asks you to take a step back and say, now wait a minute, now this is if you look at all day or all week or even all month, it seems so overwhelming, and it can be, of course. So really helping the parents stand back, we're just saying, hey, let's just divide the day up into 3 parts first, and let's make each day a chunk, like morning, afternoon, and evening. And in the morning, you're organizing your thoughts in the environment in your home and around the morning activities, and you're not thinking of the afternoon and evening yet. And then when you get to the afternoon, it's all about the afternoon, and of course the evening's the evening. But to kind of chunk it up like that, and what I suggested was, 3 or 4 hour periods where morning you get up and you get through your morning routines and your breakfast, and then you start rolling out some of the activities. Some of it might be academic and so forth. Some of it might be ADLs. But you look at it that way. And so I was asking parents to kind of think of that way. And of course, I have a couple worksheets that parents can use to kind of like organize everything and fill it in. I'll share that with you too, that really chunks it like that, morning, afternoon, evening. Outside of looking at it that way, there's a huge need for the parents that I was working with to kind of get a real good grip on what preferred activities or reinforcers, in the behavioral way of describing it, what reinforcers or rewards or preferred activities that their son or daughter would be motivated to do. And so, I mean, these could be things like iPad time or TV time or Netflix, or for a lot of the kids, it was going for car rides. For some of the kids, it was going for walks. I put on that sheet, like an example of some of the different activities that the parents would come up with. Taking a bubble bath was one, believe it or not. Now that we're getting into warmer weather, it could be a sprinkler outside, water balloons. It's really depends on what, tactile fun experiences your son or daughter likes to do. And it's important, and it could be like tangible items, it could be games, it could be a lot of mom, believe it or not, a lot of the children, it's playing a game with their parent or their sibling. So it's along those lines. And so once you come up with that inventory of preferred activities or rewards or reinforcers, I use them all the same, all those labels, you have to have that ready to kind of like go and organize. So that way you use those things and pair them with some of the demand activities, which we'll get to. So the first step is just to get that list of going. And there's a worksheet that helps you kind of organize that information. Think out of the box, and nothing's off limits when it comes to preferred items, even like small, like treats, edibles, we call them edibles, but snacks, highly preferred snacks. Not that you would, nothing that your son or daughter wouldn't have anyways, but now you're putting it aside and making it contingent on something that you need them to do. And then of course you get to step 3 there. It's very important when you come up with your list of rewards. The reason why you come up with a list is because you want to organize them and not use them all at the same time. Since you have all day, and if you take that day and you divide it up into 3 chunks, like morning, afternoon, evening, depending on when your start and end time is, that could be anywhere from 9 to 12 hours. And so you want to be able to have, you see like in the morning under number 3, it says, for example, the parent holds snacks, beanbag time, and iPad. The beanbag, by the way, was a place where the child can go and be left alone. They just wanted not to be asked to do anything for 20 minutes. And for some children, it was their couch. They could have their favorite sensory toy with them. It's, so it's just like that. It's like an official break. Okay, it's your break time. But it's preferred, so it was labeled. And then in the afternoon, when the next chunk of the time starts, you have those morning reinforcers or preferred items still, but now you add 2 more on top of it. So now in the afternoon, they might still want the iPad if that was the morning activity for preferred activity. But if they, but now it's a car ride perhaps, and that's why I added car ride for the afternoon, you see. And then in the evening, it's the same thing. All the morning and afternoon reward preferred activities are available for when you do your task or your demands. And then we added a few more, like favorite TV shows, bubble bath, and these kind of things. So that way you always have, for the parent, that preferred leverage that, it's kind of like you keep the motivation kind of going throughout the day. You don't burn through all your highly preferred activities too quickly. And then you see on step 4, it's like, okay, now you have these 3 segments of the day, morning, afternoon, evening. What do we do with these? What do we do with this time? And the worksheet really explains this quite well. But I was telling the parents, I know you're starting to get academic information. Some schools were quicker than others, and some were more meaningful than others. But the bottom line is that your child's learning is not just about the academics or functional academics. It's about, all their ADLs, about brushing their teeth, washing their face, bathing, cleaning up. It could be for some of my clients, it was, using the bathroom, not just at school, but now all day at home and not having accidents. So, when you add in the ADLs, there's plenty of activities to learn. It could be some light cooking or cleanup or dishwasher, or, for some kids, it was emptying, the trash cans out of their bathrooms. It's like some functional stuff. The older kids, it was maybe geared towards more of that. The younger kids, maybe not as many chores per se, but it was things that were still meaningful for them. Certainly cleaning up and taking care of themselves and putting their toys away, these kind of things. On top of that, there's also rec and leisure. And we think of rec and leisure, I mentioned highly preferred activities before, but they're, most of my clients that struggle, who are delayed a bit, they might not have as many recreational leisure skills as far as playing a game, sitting and attending to a game, or even playing hide and seek, or playing a nice game of with pillows, like dodge pillow, which instead of dodgeball is dodge pillow, or red light green light, which is a cool concept where you can teach. It could be a card game. It could be a lot of games. It could be coloring, painting. Think of the rec and leisure skills that are not screen time per se, though for some families it was learning an iPad game instead of watching YouTube, playing an iPad game. It really depends on the child's needs. But the bottom line is there's a rec and leisure skill or activity that probably could be taught and practiced over time. And that could be something that's just as valuable during this time frame as functional academics. So for the parents to basically open up and widen their understanding of what they can do and provide their child besides academics, it's the ADLs and rec and leisure. When you add those three categories, then it seemed to be more manageable, that they can find things to do throughout the day. This last little part on this first page here talks about the use of rewards and preferred activities. And you have to kind of follow a strict set of guidelines when you want to use something as a motivator. And this has all been documented in behavioral science, and so it's pretty standard, but a lot of times it might not be something we're fully aware of. So if you have something like an iPad or the TV or a favorite snack that the child can earn, they can't have access to it without you knowing it. And I mean, clearly, if it's a car ride, that shouldn't be a problem. But I mean, if it's an iPad, it's laying around, they might try to grab it and take it. And once they have it in their hands, it's now you don't want to turn it into a power struggle. So it's better off having that stuff put away. And the one thing I keep talking to parents about is the bottom line is it's not so much controlling your child's behavior, it's really controlling the environment. When the parents have, basically as much control of the environment, the home environment as possible, which is everything in it, including themselves and their attention that they offer their child, then you can really influence your child in a much more successful way. Because if the iPad is not available, if they don't know the code, if the snacks are not available because maybe the fruit's out, but they're highly preferred, like maybe snacks that maybe are not as healthy, that you want to put aside, that you can't access those until you sit down and finish your whatever it might be, that goes a long way. So the child can't have access for it. Also, whatever you decide to use, like let's say you decide to use a bubble bath as a reward. There was a family I worked with where the child loved the showers, loved the shower activity, but every time she had a BM accident, she would get a shower. And so I helped mom understand, like, that shower has to look different than the shower that she earns because she did something that she needed to do. That shower that she earns is a lot of fun, and there's you have those colored markers you can do on the wall and the tile. It makes it a lot of fun. Whereas the shower, because she had a BM accident, for example, if that's what happened, that's something that she has to get cleaned up and everything, of course, but it's a different experience. And so for the parent to really use those preferred activities successfully, they have to make sure that they only offer them when the child's earned them. So if the iPad is earned for doing X, Y, and Z, and then you get a phone call and then you allow the child to have it, you're going to lose that as a motivator. The child will know they can have it under different circumstances, and so it's less likely they're going to want to do what you need them to do to earn it. So that's all written on the bottom here. It has to be things that are offered relatively immediately once they earn them, and it has to be things that are fun and enjoyable. Like, don't hold back. If you feel like something that like, I don't know, they should earn that. That's your call, of course. But anything that's lukewarm and not that motivating, then it's not going to really push. Won't really get them through it. The other that thing I just showed you, the kind of strategy sheet, just one page, so it's nothing that's too it's very simple to kind of get through. But the other thing I wanted to show you is the worksheet that goes with it. So let me do that. Let me pull that up. Okay. So there's two worksheets that go with that. There's basically, it's one sheet, but there's two versions because different people like different styles. So I went ahead and did two different versions. Both versions have the exact same first page, and this is the first page. So you'll see that everything I've written out before on that one strategy sheet, this is all now here for you to fill in. It's organized just the same way I've written out the steps. So for example, in the left-hand column, you think about all the highly preferred activities that they could possibly want. And I just put enough room in here to write a few in, but you can write everything that you want on the side of the column and so forth, or another piece of paper. But it basically coaches you to take a few of these preferred items and then put them underneath morning, and then add 1 or 2 more under afternoon, and 1 or 2 more after evening. So that way it kind of helps you organize how you're going to use these preferred activities and basically stagger them through the day. And then on the right-hand column, it talks about brainstorming now about what do I need my child to do during the day? And so there's functional academics, but then there's this ADL section, that's this first section here. And this is a place to kind of write down all the ADLs that you think your child should do or should be doing that would be helpful. And so, you know, and you kind of list them there, and I give some hints like, you know, taking care of oneself, like, you know, clean up, light chores, this kind of basically self-management, self-care. Functional academics, you look at what the school's providing for you, and you kind of like fold that in there, and it could be things that are, you know, could be quite creative and fun. And then of course there's the rec and leisure, which I already talked about, but this is the place where you kind of write it down. You're like, hey, now I have all the information here, and I can tweak it, add to it, take from it as you go through the different days and weeks, but you keep it fresh. Then this information is then pushed further down. This is the second page, and this is what's different between the two versions. It's just different layout. It's the same approach, but under this first layout, you see morning 8 to 12. That's the morning block. And you have on the section up here, you have down, okay, what preferred activities did I put aside for the morning? I'm going to write them down here just to remind myself. You don't have to. This is for you. It's not for your child. This is for you to kind of like your game plan. And then you'll see on the yellow section, okay, here are a number of different ADLs, functional academics, leisure stuff that I can have my child do. And then the blue section is, okay, now what's going to come afterwards? And it's that first then model. It's like first you do this, then you do that. And sometimes it's a first, like I want you to do 2 things if it's possible. And then you have your preferred activity or outcome afterwards, and we can start over again. The first then model is a very old model. I'm sure we're all aware of it. The first is always the demand, and it's your child's behavior. It's first like brush your teeth, get up, you know, eat your breakfast, put your stuff away, or let's do some math, or it could be let's do some reading. The first is always a demand scenario, and it has to do with the child's behavior. The then is the reward, but it's most definitely also the environment. The reward is coming from the environment. It could be the iPad, it could be the TV, it could be a snack, it could be a game with mom or dad, it could be the going outside of the sprinklers. So the then is the preferred item, and it's part of the environment. That's your area of control of the parent. It's that part. I mean, of course, you're organizing everything, kind of getting things ready, which I know is a big job, but the child then has to run with it once they have that first demand set in front of them. Your focus is really, you can't access this thing until you do it. And if we take a break from the table and come back later, if it was the iPad or this other activity you wanted to do, you can't get it until we get this first thing done. For some families, it was how do they organize this? I said, okay, we'll put 3 or 4 things out on the kitchen table, and which one does the child approach or ask for? And you say, okay, that's awesome. You ask for this, that's great. Now let's do this first, and then you can do that, and then you can have that. And so that's another way you can kind of gear. The more input you get from your child, the better as to what they want, when they want it. You kind of use that as you can to kind of put it and attach it to a first then block. In the afternoon, same concept, but now you see in yellow 2 additional reinforcers that are going to be added, and let the child choose from the pool of reinforcers. It could be the car rides were very popular. I think everybody wanted to get out of the house, but that was something that a lot of the families I worked with went for car rides. And then at the end of the day, if you notice in the purple, I put function. At one point, I took out functional academics. I'm like, enough is enough already. Maybe the child is done with the academic part of her day or their day, but you never know. And so I put it back in. The bottom line is, at the end of the day, as things are winding down, it might be like, okay, they're done already. It's 3 o'clock, 3:30. I'm done. They're done. I got to get things going. I got other things in my house I have to take care of. And as long as my child, is active and engaged and entertained and kind of doing his or her thing, we're cool. And that's fine. So this is just meant to kind of go all the way to 8 o'clock if need be, because there's going to be some ADLs at the end of the day anyways. They're going to have to brush their teeth, get their pajamas on, take a shower, these kind of things. This is version 1 sheet. I want to just quickly show you the version 2 sheet. and that's right here. So you'll see that it's pretty much the same. Let's see if I can get it. Here we go. I think this is it, version 2. So it's the same thing basically. You'll see the first page is exactly the same. It rolls down into the second page, and now you have, it's just a different setup. You have under each hour, it kind of like just talks about, you know, what 2 or 3 things, 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things, depends on the child, depends on what you want them to do in this hour, and then what preferred activity comes to follow. And you kind of look at the day like this, and you chunk it like this, and you organize the preferred activities. You have all the demands set up, like ADLs, academics, rec and leisure, skills sets you want them to practice. And then you kind of just match them up throughout the day. It's a tough job, I know. And I know no one thought they were going to be doing this, you know, 4 months ago. This is, you know, this is uncharted territory, but now it's not so uncharted anymore. It's, you know, it's something that you're all living through. And so I told Aubrey that I was going to share 3 examples of 3 different families, 3 different children that haven't gone through this process. They all have pretty significant learning needs, disabilities per se. The first is a girl, and she's probably around, I want to say 7th grade, and she goes to an out of district school, a specialized school, which by the way, unfortunately isn't opening this summer because their model doesn't allow for a pandemic and to bring other kids from different towns. So the mama is now going to have an extended time with this during the summer because that specialized school setting can't open up during the summer at all during ESY. So, but this is a young girl, middle school-ish, who basically is, you know, it requires full-time supervision and attention. It's not that she can't do things on her own, she can, but often it might turn into activities or behaviors that are not very you know, engaging or adaptive, and so mom feels like she has to understandably get in there and kind of keep her on track. Mom never did this before. She had people come in the home and help her with this, but she's never had to take this on fully herself, and this scared the heck out of her. Of course, the child has some language ability, but you know, it's you know, they had a long journey here to go on, and they did it, and they are doing it still. One of the biggest success stories in all this is that the parent got over her initial understandable fears, and you know, the child was avoiding all Zoom activity. Zoom was just a foreign, you know, it was FaceTime was one thing with a family member, but it was Zoom with a teacher and then to do something was very foreign. So they now got to the point where the child now is attending and is sitting watching the Zoom, but the parent is still the primary educator, in that the Zoom is really for her. Zoom is really for her. So she's getting the feedback from the school, and then she's providing instruction for the child. And that's where they are right now. The one of the big success though is that the child is on a schedule, and so they are, parent and child are accessing the Zooms plus the other activities. And she's going, and long story, which I won't get into, but she had significant bathroom challenges throughout most of her life. And this increased attention with the mom and her, and the structure and everything has gotten to the point now where the bathroom is the most successful thing. That's one of the most successful things happening for her. She's going on her own, you know, all of it. And it's like, this is huge. And I don't know if we would have been there if this didn't happen, but they're there now, and it's awesome. It's a big success story for them. Another one is a boy. He has Down syndrome, very mischievous behavior. Like he likes to play tricks on everybody, including his mom. And so, and I'm sure some of you can appreciate this. You know, she can't even brush her teeth without him asking for her. So he's always looking for her. So it's just the 2 of them at home, the mom and the son, and he's always looking for her. And he's 17 years old, and so even if she wants to take a break, it's hard. He was avoiding all academic type Zooms that this wasn't happening. She, like the other parent, has to, but you know, she had to be the person to kind of like spearhead it. He is actually now attending these Zoom sessions, and the teachers have figured out how to do things that are fun and playful to keep him attending, and he's active and he's engaged. And the parent is, you know, tickled to death the fact that, he's doing this now with the structure during the day. Again, this is a parent that has some supports coming in the home. He's another child that's going out of district because his needs are quite significant. And she never thought she'd be in the situation. And again, this kind of scared her a bit when it first started, but she now says, she talked to her now, it's like, it's not perfect. And I meant to say that none of this is perfect. And I know that, but I always stress that it's not perfect. It's not meant to be perfect. But when mom, and usually it's the mom, it could be the dad too, when mom and dad and the child feel relatively good about where things are at, that's a huge success. Needs are being met. They are learning. The parents are learning a tremendous amount. And, in the end, we all want to go back to where it was. But I know for a fact that many, many families are going to come out of this feeling stronger in the end because they've been put into a situation they never thought of. And they got through it. And it's quite amazing. Another is, and I know I'm running out of time. Thank you, Aubrey. Another one is a young guy who I've known since preschool. He is, I don't keep track of their ages, but he's about 18 years old. I've known him for almost all of his life and a good chunk of mine. And this is a fellow, significant autism. And what's different about this family is that he has a sibling who lives at home who's older than him, who is the primary educator. The mom is the commander in chief, but her other son is the person who implements everything. And they follow a very similar model to this. And they're not doing any academics. There's very, very little that they're doing academic wise. Based on his profile, it's not his biggest strength. It's not his biggest need either, to be perfectly honest. But what is important is his ADLs, his rec and leisure, staying fit, staying healthy, exercising, not gaining a lot of weight during this time period. And he's doing fantastic. And I say that, there's been ups and downs. There's been bumps and bruises, but they have a plan and they follow through it. And it changes from week to week because this boy cycles through different sleep patterns and eat patterns and other type of things. But the bottom line is they know it's not perfect, but they're getting him to engage in functional recreation and functional ADLs, and they're getting through it. They really are. And again, another story that never in a million years would you have thought. This is another child that had a lot of services up to this, direct services, and to have them all taken away because of the pandemic, it was just, it was very difficult to get kind of through that. But they're getting through it. And the rewards, what's similar between all three of these is that it's not perfect. They're all different, but the parent and the child feel good about where they're at, and they're using the motivators correctly, and nothing's all off limits as far as learning, whether it's living skills, rec and leisure. And this boy that I just talked about, he's taking care of the garden outside. They don't have a space really for a garden, but they have pots and plants and flowers, and he's watering them and he's tending them. And the plan is that he'll sell some of them, and because they have quite a network of people that would buy them, those little plants from him. But it's one of his activities he's doing. So I don't know if there's I did really good with this time. I got this in 29 minutes. I'm very impressed because it's not like me at all. I'm usually 10, 20 minutes over. So I apologize for it being too fast, but I know 30 minutes is 30 minutes, and these attachments you can look at anytime. You can email me. Happy to talk to you more about this. But hang in there. And again, it's because of the parents I'm doing this, and you guys are so I tell all parents, this is extreme parenting. There's extreme everything and TV shows and all that, extreme sports, extreme this, extreme that, extreme parenting. But anyways, kudos to all of you and for, helping your child through this and family through this very difficult time.
And one thing that I wanted to say too is that it is progress, not perfection. And I was talking to another mom as well. She wants to be the best parent possible. She's read all the books. She took the course. She's giving it her all. But sometimes implementing something new feels really overwhelming. But I also noticed, like, even on your worksheet, you have it broken down into sections of the day. And so it might be okay that you don't get all the sections, but just to take one step forward, just to try one section of the day, or even maybe you need to just start with 1 hour if you're not even there yet. It does build on itself, and it is that kind of daily practice and focusing on, you know, that one thing or that one strategy, and not worrying that you're going to be that perfect parent that does every single little parenting thing correctly. But if you pick one thing to focus on and get consistent at it, it's much more likely that then you're going to be able to add something else, or you're going to see a little bit of progress, which is the hope that will keep you then motivated to do the next right thing. So I had a mom who, her focus right now is just get my kids out on that daily walk, and the iPad screen time is the reinforcer, because she just has overwhelmed herself so many times. She feels defeated, and now she's getting that small win that, you know, I know is going to layer up and help her make the big success. So don't count yourself down and out. It's a process, and we're all going through it. We're learning as we go, but it's such an opportunity to become a more empowered parent.
That's right. That's right. And all the parents that I've talked to, I mean, there are those dark days where they, you know, it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, they're in for the right reasons. It could be unbearable and tough at times, but you know, I keep helping them understand that it's always the trend. It's like, I know, instead of whatever the day brings, whether it's great or a lot of difficulty, you really want to take a step back and say, how did the week go? How did the week go? Was this week slightly better than last week? And you know, that's how you look at it. You look at it week to week, and you know, now month to month, and you know, that's where you see progress. And you allow those, you know, there's some days are write-offs. We all have them, and other days are huge successes. And you add them all up, it tends to trend the right way. It tends to trend the right way because, you know, there's no greater advocate than a parent, and you know, no one has as much skin in this game than you guys do. So I don't care how great the teachers are, or a therapist like myself. You guys, you know, are it. So you know, when you put your mind and heart to it, it's gonna trend up.